see what happens. So I didn't do a whole lot of hunting in December. Like I said in the last video, I think it was in the deer camp video, that I really don't do any gun hunting when I come back home. I pretty much only hunt with a gun up there. And then when my grandpa passing away, I didn't do a whole lot of hunting. I was more focused on, helping my grandma and so on. But I did do some hunting. When I got back from camp, I was surprised to see that the corn hadn't been harvested. But it was just too hard for the farmer to get into our property because it was just so wet. It had rained a lot, and then it snowed, and then, it didn't dry up. It was really wet. Eric and Robbie had told me they wanted to come in and do a muzzleloader hunt. So I figured I'd go out and I'd sit and just kind of do like some scouting. And the day I went out to sit, the farmer was actually out there harvesting the corn. It was a pleasant surprise because a lot of times I've hunted that field when my grandpa used to harvest, and you see a lot of deer that you haven't seen all year because you have hundreds of acres of corn, standing, and they just basically bed there, they eat there, they chase does there. I sat there from 10 o'clock until sundown, and I was really surprised that the deer pretty much stuck to their schedule. They came out around 4 o'clock, and when they came, though, they came. But it looks pretty good. And just like that, the field is flooded. Not flooded, but there's a lot. At one point, I think I had probably 100 to 120 deer surrounding me. There wasn't really a lot in my grandparents' field, but there was a whole bunch in the pasture. There was a whole bunch. There was probably 100 deer just south of me. I saw 4 or 5 bucks pretty far south. The next time I go out, I'm sitting with Robbie. We decided to sit in the fence row. I really wanted to give him an opportunity, and the last time I had hunted, all the deer were coming into the field south of us, about 100 yards south, and then they were coming up and they were getting real close to the fence row, about 100 yards down. So I didn't want to sit in my normal stand in the southwest corner like I always do, and we ended up setting up about 10 yards apart on 2 different trees.
It says it is. Can you hear me? Test.
Rob's sitting here in front of me. Yeah, Eric. I have a good angle. And I'm not hunting, I'm just filming. I figure if we got 3 guys on a 800-yard fence row, we don't need to have any more ammunition out here. How you feeling, Rob? So when we got up in the 2 trees, it was fine for cover. You know, the deer never really spot us or anything like that, but Robbie didn't have a shot at that buck because the tree that was in front of him was just covered in vines. So the tree in between the deer and him was covered in vines, and that deer was pretty close at a couple different times. He was within 60, 70 yards. There was one little opening where he could shoot into that field, and he just never got into that opening. And then Robbie did some calling, and the call they didn't like the call. The does scattered, and the buck went, and then they went into the pasture next door and ended up going way south. I had asked Robbie if he would have been sitting on the ground, if he could have shot that buck, and he was like, yeah. So he ended up getting run down for the rest of the night, and unfortunately we just didn't have anything coming close. But my brother had a couple does.
Yep.
Do they taste good?
I was wondering.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
Oh, I was making sounds like that.
Oh well.
Yeah, by the horns.
It's alright.
You're in your shadow's in the way of that gun. I heard it.
He ended up taking a button buck at the end of the night. He thought it was a doe.
I don't know why it looks so dark. We got about an hour and 10 minutes before sunset. You know, a half hour after that for legal hunting, but I don't know why it's really dark for some reason.
So I probably hunted 4 or 5 more times after that hunt, and I just didn't see any bucks. It was weird. It's just a lot of times that's when I see the most buck activity, is that very last stretch in the hunting season, and they don't necessarily always come across the fence row, but I always seem to see the bucks in that last week of December, and I just did not see them this year. So I didn't hunt January 1st. It was probably the first time I haven't hunted January 1st. I basically posted up in my grandparents' barn and just watched from afar, and nothing really even came across. So, but it was an exciting year. You know, Hendrix got his first buck. I got another buck this year, and then you know, Robbie got a good chance at one, and it just gets me excited for next year. We're still gonna be hunting this property next year, and then we did lose the other property that I hunt by my dad's house, but it is what it is. I'll probably do some more public land hunting. Me and Robbie have some hunts kind of planned for next year. Obviously, as the time comes, I'll have more accurate dates, but we're trying to put some things together where we do some hunts, and it should be fun. So that's it for my 2023 season. Hopefully I can keep things going and, you know, continue throughout the spring and the fall. And I have a whole bunch of projects I'm working on and trips I'm got planned and so on. So we'll keep things going and we'll see what happens.